Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders' Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl.
There's been a million times Kenny has said something, and it went right over my head about genetics
that's nice
or
to know.
breeding.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy, and I'm here with my wife Nancy and my co-host Frank Bradley. What's up, guys?
Going good. How are you guys?
I'm doing good. Nancy, were you trying to get my attention with something?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
I'm with the chef.
Too late, too soon. Huh?
I don't know. I don't know what she was doing. I saw it at the last minute. I'm like, okay, what's she doing?
Yeah,
okay.
and just for the viewers, that intro that Kenny had, see, he threw me on a limb there because he didn't play the whole contents of it.
No.
And meaning to say that he would say something with meaning, and I could have really come up with a good, part going into that, and it just blew right over the top of my head. Or I looked at it in a different way, and the way he said it, and didn't think of it until after the show, and be like, "Daggone it, that would have been so good to go, to add to that topic." He'd set me up perfect, and I walked right over it.
I left out the part that really makes it make sense.
Yeah,
but it was a funny part, so no, I just thought it was pretty good. But so I don't know
how's the yellow jackets for you guys out there?
Oh,
you guys
it's
got
bad.
yellow jackets?
Yeah, it's bad.
No, he's talking about yellow jackets. You're talking about wasps.
Yeah, these are.
Oh,
these
they're different?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
See, where I told you guys we hadn't had a lot of rainfall here in Kentucky?
Mm-hmm.
Well, usually we get probably 10 times of what we've had this year. And these things, even though they will be build it like honeybees, they'll build in trees, nest boxes. It really don't matter. But their primary source of building is in the ground. They burrow into the ground and build huge nests. So
okay, yeah.
And we get the rain that we normally get. A lot of them gets the hives gets wiped out because of all the rain. They fill up, drowns the larvae, and there's not that many of them. And plus, we had a real warm winter, and the winter wasn't that bad also. Now there's people actually having their chickens been attacked by these things, and they're eating the chickens alive. We can't go out on can't even go out on our porch. Tell you how bad they are. We went to a produce where they sell, fruits, vegetables, what have you.
Like a farmer's market?
Yeah, like a farmer's market. And we got a watermelon and about 6 or 7 peaches. And Amanda had them in the bag, and I was carrying the watermelon. And I walked up to the truck, was going to let her, get inside. And they attacked her before she could even get inside the vet. I mean, they just swarmed her. They was all over. Just after those peaches. They are terrible.
Wow.
Did she get bit?
No. Luckily, she didn't. I mean, she probably had a good 50, on the bag trying to get into the bag with it. You can't go outside to eat. You can't leave your food outside, anything. But, in my 54 years of life, I have never, ever seen them attack a chicken. Never, ever. And I've even seen some posts on Facebook, people here in the South and on the East Coast that's actually lost chickens because of them. I mean, they just so many on them, it just overwhelms them and kills them.
So those don't sting; they bite.
They bite and
they're
sting.
like meat eaters. Oh, they do sting.
They bite and they're not like a honeybee. See, a honeybee can sting you and it leaves the poison sac, and the honeybee dies.
Yeah,
one sting, that's it. With these, they can sting you until they're completely out of venom and biting you at the same time. So they're, I said, there's no way that Noah put those nasty things on the ark. They just hitched a ride, and he didn't know they was there, because if he didn't know they was there, he'd probably killed them. They're so bad.
Yeah.
Well, same thing with ants. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, ants are bad now.
The ants are really bad right now.
You got the fire ants though.
We have fire ants, but we're getting the
ants.
little black ants
just
in the house, and they're just they find all kinds of holes and just come on in.
Yeah, those
like they're invited.
The little bitty tiny ants.
Yeah.
No, they're not real small like the real tiny grease ants. They're not like that, but they're
pretty small.
They're a pain
I
in
can't
the
imagine
butt.
being any smaller than they are right now.
Yeah.
No, they're just a small little black
I've seen them smaller than that.
We've got the big timber ones. It's got the big wicked looking cutters on the front of their mouths, like switchblades, and that bore through the trees and kill the fruit trees. But those little bitty ones that we've got a nickname for them here. They call them piss ants. That's what they call them. Everybody calls them ants. Yeah, everybody. I don't know how the name come about of that, but they call them piss ants. They've always called them.
Wow.
There was a little lady going into church one day, and there was ants there. And she said, "Oh, look at those piss ants." She said, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe I said that at church."
Oh, in church. Oh my gosh. I'd like to welcome Eli. This is his first time watching us live. So welcome.
Yep.
That's
Welcome
great.
to the show.
Remember, I don't know if I emailed you or texted you today. I said it was like 110 degrees. Well, it was actually 114 degrees, unless Nancy has another reading that I don't have. But it was pretty hot today.
Right now, it's 6:00 here in Ramona, and it's 100 degrees. Real feel 99. But it was 117 out of my route today.
Wow.
What was
And
the
so you
humidity
can
though?
bet the
I don't know,
inside
but
of this,
it was pretty humid.
you guys out there feel sorry for me because both Frank and Kenny are in an air conditioned room.
You can
And
hear it.
I am not. I'm out here in the living room. I've got a glow today, guys. Can you see my glow?
I would have brought her in here with me, but as
Oh
you know,
God, no.
we don't play well together. So
No way.
He could open the door up and put a little fan out there to blow on you down the door though. But
It wouldn't reach me.
he'd use the echo effect to close the door though.
that's true too. Thanks, Frank. I needed that.
You boys are so bad.
I've been around Kenny long enough. I can read him.
Yeah, exactly. So what else is going on, Kenny?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all our new members for joining us. The registration page is still closed, but the newsletter is open, the Breeders Bulletin, and that's how a lot of people are joining right now. They're joining the Breeders Bulletin. They're getting a lot of freebies, and then every now and then I'll send like a special invite, and the new subscribers have been taking advantage of it, and I really appreciate it. But Frank, it's been really cool lately. I've kind of been, I've been watching our community part of the website, the Facebook groups page, and it's just so fun to watch. I don't even have to get in there. Watching the members just communicate with each other, helping each other out, giving advice, kind of cheering them on and everything. I'm loving it. This is so cool.
And that's something you never used to see before. When you first started this and we started doing this, they didn't really interact with each other. It was more me and you than themselves. And now they interact with themselves more than they do with me and you. So that's great to see.
Because I created not only the Facebook group page, but I created a couple chat rooms in there too. One for gamefowl breeders, one for the domestic chicken breeders. And I'm just kicking back watching it. They know how to get a hold of me. If they need to ask me or you a question, they know where to get that. And so I just stay out of it. And I'll go check it out from time to time. And Nancy kind of contributes too.
Kind of.
But it's kind of fun to watch these guys help each other out, give advice, kind of cheering them on. I love it. It's great. But let me say this real quick, is I never thought that was an issue with or something that would happen with my website or the Breeders Academy, because when you look at other membership websites, that's what they would always say. People would come for the content, but they'd stay for the community. And I never thought that my website was going to be like that, And so I never really gave it much effort. But I'm sitting there watching these guys communicate and having fun. And it's turning out that way, actually. So
they're actually teaching each other.
Yeah. So
Hey,
it's nice
and making a discussion.
I got to put this up real quick. So Eli joined last month and he's learning so much. So that's
he's
great.
in the website. He's a member?
He's a member now. So
cool.
That's awesome. You got any quick advice for him?
Just
start here pages.
Yeah, start with the start here pages. Try not to absorb. Try not to go in there trying to absorb. I can't talk all of a sudden. Don't try to absorb it all at one time. Take your time. Follow the start here pages. Get to know the website, and eventually, if you ever need help, you're going to eventually want to do a coaching call. Just write down the questions that you need to talk to me about, and we'll get together. And whatever questions you have about the website, breeding, the Founders Program, any of the programs and courses in the website, you have any questions, let me know. There's all kinds of places all over the website to leave your questions. You can get a hold of me in my profile. If it's just a quick question, if it takes a little bit more explanation, I'll probably want to get together with you and do a coaching call. But take your time and learn it. There's so much on there. It'll take you forever to learn it all. I mean, I hear it all the time. As a matter of fact, someone just sent me a message today saying how much they love the website and they're just addicted to it. They're always on the website learning something. And I think that's so cool because we got so much information. We got so many videos now. We've got the audios. It's just growing all the time. We're just adding more.
You just mentioned another good way to learn too, Kenny, is the messenger that you set up. go in and ask the question. A lot of our veteran members is glad to help you with any type question.
Yeah.
That's a great part of that. What I'm saying, a lot of our veteran members are really putting down and helping the people just now joining and coming in to the community. The Breeders' Academy member is a real helpful hand, because a lot of those go out of their way to answer any questions they might have.
Yeah. So take your time. That's the biggest advice I can give you, is don't try to absorb it all at one time. And that start here page with all the links on it, it's really important. It's going to get you started. It's going to show you. And then after that, just kind of click buttons. Just kind of find your way around the website. Kind of get to know where everything's at. And yeah. But it's like a university. There's just so much information on there. And I'm putting stuff on there weekly, sometimes daily.
And it's not even just articles. There's a lot of video content that you can watch as well.
We've got the master's class videos. We have the members roundtables. We have the Q&As. The whole collection, the whole archive of live shows are on there, which you won't find on Facebook right now. I only keep so much on Facebook.
And YouTube.
Everything else is on. I meant to say YouTube, not Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not so. I don't have that much on YouTube itself. Everything's on the website. And yeah.
The biggest part of the biggest advice I could give to a new member would be what one Kenny said, not to overload yourself. But the biggest one that I would evoke would be never try to go past the stage that you're at. Stay where you're at in the breeding itself. Don't try to go all the way through it and learn it all at once. Learn it as you go. That's your best route. Focus on the stage that you're in currently with your chickens, and do everything you can to learn about where you're at that time, and the rest will fall in for you. I promise you that.
There's areas on the website, on the Founders Program, that kind of give you an idea where you will be going. Okay. But Frank's right. If you're on stage 2, it's okay, I guess, to glance at it and check it out, but so you kind of have an idea. But don't spend a lot of time on stage 4, 5, and 6, because you're just not there yet. There's just so much more to do before you start checking those things out. That's one thing I stopped doing when we were doing coaching calls, is I'd get members on there and I go, where are you at in the Founders Program? Oh, stage 1 or stage 2. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. And then they go, well, tell me about the other ones. I go, nope, because we're going to be doing this coaching call again anyways. And then there's a lot of videos on there to explain as well. So when I do coaching calls, I put all my attention on where you're at. I talk a little bit about the stage before. I talk about where you're at, and I might talk about the stage that you're going to be going in next. But I want you to stay focused, because there's so much that needs to be done. This is a very complete, a well-designed breeding program that if you follow it, trust me, your birds are going to progress, and you're not going to have to add outside blood. So,
ever.
Yeah, ever. There's like in the Start Here pages, you have the confirmation page, the defect page. Always direct people there, because you really need to get to know your bird. Once you understand the selection process and you understand the breeding program, then you're on your way. But if you know how to select them, you could have the best breeding program in the world. You're just not going to advance. So it's really important to understand your breed, and understand how they're built, how they're put together, what makes up the breed, why they're built the way they are, and then understand the defects that exist so that you can watch out for them, and then follow the Founders Program just like it's laid out. We do have another program that I'll be putting on there pretty soon that we talked about last week, which I can tell you the title. I don't think you'll be able to figure it out without us actually explaining it to you how it works. But we call it gene chopping. It's a really neat program that we put together that'll teach you how to kind of create the birds that you will need to begin your breeding program. It helps you create, let's say you've got birds that need a lot of work, but they don't have the traits that you're looking for. So we show you a way to create the Adam and Eve that you need to move forward with, so that they have all the traits that you want them to have. And then you build the strain from there. And so that's what we talked about last week. And the video is on there, so you can check that out. I don't have the program on there yet, and I don't have all the banners. That's going to be soon. I've been helping Nancy this last week with her record book keeping program, which
I've been taking all his time.
yeah, she has. And so we spent the last few days recording all the videos, all the segments for that particular program, putting it together, building all the graphs and the pictures and illustrations that go with it. Nancy did a really good job. So I'm putting all that together for her. That'll be on the website pretty soon. Then I'll probably jump to the gene shopping program, finish that up, and get that on there as well. But we did talk about it on the members roundtable, so check that out. But just know that gene shopping does not replace the founders program. It's a great
tool,
Frank. It's a companion program to the founders program.
It's a modification to get the seed fowl that you really want, rather than taking a chance on, rolling a dice, getting what you want. You make your own, pretty much.
I mean, you don't need the gene shopping program. We've been doing it without it for so long, but in some ways we do, because there's times when we get birds that are pretty good, but they just don't have a handful of traits that we would like them to have. And this method shows you how to do that, how to add those traits, but yet still move forward. It can be kind of tricky. I think a lot of the members, one of the things I kept hearing from them in messages was, wow, that was interesting, because I just thought you added genes, just keep crossing, but there's a method to it, and I don't want to say what it is here, but it's actually a really cool method that adds the traits you want without losing the traits that they already have, yet still eliminate the traits that you don't want. It's a really good program. I'm really happy with it. So
it's more, it's not, I don't want to say more advanced. It's not more advanced, but in some ways, I guess you could say it is. But as far as genetics, you really need to know your recessives, your dominants, that sort of thing before you go into this. I guess what I'm trying to say.
You got to know your traits, and you need to know the genetic factors of those traits for that to work.
Right.
And I think you need to know that anyways, whether you're doing that, a gene shopping type program or the founders program. You really understand. And that goes with selection. If you don't understand the genetic factors of those traits, how are you going to pair them up properly? How are you going to mate them properly? How are you going to get the results you're looking for? Because some traits are going to cancel out others. Some are going to hide others. And they end up working against each other. So, and we teach all that in the Breeders' Academy. So,
hey, before we get started, I just want to let Rolando know that I've got your question started, and we'll get to it at the end of the show. So stay tuned, okay? We'll get to it.
Let me put this up here real quick so I make sure we covered it. Like I said, the Founders Program, the Breeders' Academy is closed right now. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com or take your phone and click on that QR code. That'll take you to our free website that has the sign up for the Breeders' Bulletin, which is our newsletter. And if you're interested, and like I said, you're going to get a lot of freebies, a lot of advice, a lot of tips. It's really good information that we provide on there. And if there's any chance you might want to join the Breeders' Academy, I'm going to send you an invite every once in a while so you can join. So just make sure to go there and do that. Like I said, you know what? Just so you know, Frank, I didn't talk to you about this. I want to mention something real quick. I've got an idea for a show, because we're doing these shows from the front end every 2 weeks now. And then we do the members roundtable every other week too. So the members get shows every week, where the people aren't members, or they're getting a show every couple weeks. But I was putting together a couple ideas, and I was working out the outline real quick, just off the top of my head. And it dawned on me, what if we did like a genotype versus phenotype quiz? Like, I'm throwing out different traits and stuff and let everybody figure out whether it's a genotype trait or a phenotype trait. And then
front end or back end?
For the front end, we could talk about it. We're not talking about breeding programs or anything. We're just talking about little basic information.
People love games.
I think it'd be kind of fun. And then we can maybe talk a little bit about the genotype versus phenotype and how it works in a breeding program. So
That'd be
Yeah, I was kind
fun.
of putting these together. I go, wow, this would be kind of fun with this heat and everything. And I got a handful of projects that I want to get through and get done and get out of the way and get them off my computer and get them on the website. And so I kind of want some easy shows for a little while. And then October is going to be a real busy month for us. And I even thought about just doing Q&As for a little while. You know what I mean? Just something simple. But then I thought about that. So,
Well,
yeah.
the Q&As we've done in the past, they've really gives a chance for the viewers to, be involved, ask questions, like they're in the conversation, make them a part of the conversation too. So those always go real well.
We were planning on covering outcrossing, inbreeding, and inbreeding, and we're still going to do that. I still have everything ready to go. I just want it to be a little easy for a little while, so I can get ahead on some projects. I really want to get these projects done. So just know that I'm still working. I'm still going to do those other shows we were talking about, but I am looking for some fun shows, some easier shows. So, okay. So like I was saying, today we're going to be talking about the powers of record keeping. We're going to talk about why record keeping is important. And like I said, we just put together, which we'll be putting on the website here pretty soon, a program on record keeping, which is pretty big. Nancy, how many pages is that thing?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's 52 charts and logs. Okay. We'll start with that.
I thought there was like 70 charts and logs.
Well, that includes some of the banners that break up the segments. So you do have some banners, but the charts and logs, I think there's 52 of those. We did, I think, 5 different segments.
Yeah.
We recorded 5 different segments. So you've got that. The article is over 100 pages long. And it includes, it's that long because it includes the example of the chart or log that I'm talking about, so that you can see put it together, what I'm explaining and what the chart looks like, so you'll see it. It took me a year to finish this project, guys. So yeah, that was my baby.
Okay. So let's get started.
I
thought Nancy was gonna run it, but she says it's mine today, so I'm gonna pull her in as much as I can.
I'm going on like 3 hours sleep. I didn't sleep last night, so I'm a bit of a dingbat right now.
I'm with you, Nancy.
Well, no, every time I started falling asleep, I felt an ant crawling on my arm or something, and it woke me up, and I'm like, "Get off me!" Because
I'd have been out of that bed.
I did. I finally did get out and went in the living room and slept for about 2.5 hours before I had to get up and go to work. But I couldn't figure out where they were coming from. But I would get up, turn the light on, they'd be on my pillow or something, 1 or 2 stragglers on my pillow or something.
This is all really intriguing information, but
I know. Okay, let's get to it. All right.
Nancy, tell me why is record keeping important?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I just did the article. Okay. Oh my gosh. Knowledge is power. Would you all agree on that? Knowledge is power?
Well, you were talking about how if you were running a business and you didn't keep very good records, your business, it would be chaos. Everything would be all over the place. You wouldn't know where you're coming and going. You wouldn't know how much money you're making, how much money you're losing. You wouldn't have any you wouldn't know anything. It's like doing business in the dark. And breeding chickens is the same way.
Worse.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because you got to be thinking about your profits and loss. Even if you're not making a business out of your chicken breeding hobby, if you're not making money on it, you still should know where your money is going. So the way I set up the record bookkeeping project is with the introduction, why you should have record bookkeeping logs and charts available to you. I went into the financial reports because there are charts and logs in there that will that are available to you, so that you can chart down how much you spent on monthly as well as yearly, how much you spent on things and how much profit you made. If you're making a profit, say you're selling birds, you're selling eggs, or you're a broiler breeder, and so you're selling the meat birds, the prices. And it's really important to know where your money is going when you are a broiler breeder, because that determines your price per pound. So that's really something you got to look at. As far as breeding goes, that is Kenny's baby, because you want to document your ancestry of your birds. You want to document who you put with who. What did what were the aspects of that hen that you put with that rooster?
Just look at the Founders Program. Frank, could you imagine doing the Founders Program without keeping records?
It'd be an awful Smith.
From the very beginning, you're keeping track of who you're breeding to who and where you're going with it and what they're producing.
You've got to have cutouts to do a puzzle. If they're all the same shape, you're not going to be too successful about putting it together. And that's the way I look at record keeping. But it's the little things that count. Like a lot of people that's listening to us right now, they have no idea that they can get filed for the feed that they use each year on their taxes. It's tax deductible.
Yeah.
All the feed that you use every year. Now, with their current meal that we have here 5 minutes from my home, they will set up where you fill out a form, and they don't charge you the tax. So you don't have to, redo it yourself. Amanda keeps all of her receipts, and at the end of the year, like if we buy something at Tractor Supply that's for the chickens, we keep all that stuff that we have to pay tax on, and she files that at the end of the year. But anything that you buy for your chickens, basically, you can turn in, right down to the medications, you can turn in on your taxes for.
Yeah. Nancy built financial records, inventory charts, nutritional logs, health records. Man, health is so important.
Oh, yes.
Because just think about how many times have you gave your birds medication, or you bred certain birds, or you incubated certain birds or certain eggs, and you tried to keep all this in your head. Who came from what was going on here, who was sick, what'd you give them? And you kept saying to yourself, I'll remember it later. I'll write it down later when I get in the house. Won't. And then you don't do it. And then you think, okay, I'll remember this happened last year. And then you get to the next year. How many times, Nancy, did I come to you and go, do you remember what I said about this last year, or whether, who I bred to who, or what I don't do that so much anymore. But there was so many times I'd ask her, do you remember what I said about this? Do you remember what I did about that? And she's like, no.
Yeah. And see, you're going to have to go buy yourself a couple binders, because all these charts and logs that I have made out for you, they're going to be in PDF files, so you can print them out and put them in a book, because some of your birds are going to have multiple charts and logs that go with that bird, because you're going to have a health record for that individual bird. You're going to have, the breeding, the Adam and Eve. You'll see, guys, our members, when you get in there, you'll understand more of what I'm talking about when you get in there and see it. But the one thing that we all don't realize, if we're not keeping track of it, how much feed did you buy last year? Did you change your feed in March and then change it back because you didn't like the feed and you didn't like the way your chickens were acting on that new feed that you thought was going to be superior and ended up not being superior, and then forgot that you had changed your feed in the middle of the year and wondering why your chickens are not up to par in December? I mean, just different things like that. How much money you've spent on equipment, insurance purposes. We have fires out here in California, and we have an inventory at the beginning of the year and an inventory at the end of the year of our stock, meaning all our birds, and our equipment. Because if we have a fire go through here, we lose everything, then that we can report to our homeowners insurance company. So just different things like that. And you know what, Florida, they get the hurricanes. The South, they get the hurricanes. You get tornadoes in the Midwest. I mean, all that. You can't put all your chickens down into the storm cellar when you have a tornado coming by.
You only write it down, Frank, but take pictures and videos too from time to
time. My phone's my best friend when it comes to keeping records, but it's only my good friend if I remember to write it down in my logs. Now, a lot of people keeps everything on their laptop or their phone or whatever. I'm old school. I do it on both. I make my notes on my phone, but I have my logbook that I noted in when I get back home. And Kenny's right. There's been a million times that I've said, oh, I don't need to write that down. I'll remember that. Shoot, there's no point writing that down. And I paid for it in the long run for not writing it down. If it's important enough you think you need to write it down, for God's sakes, write it down, because that could be the one thing that hurts you or makes it much, much better, and you forgot and you didn't write it down, so therefore it doesn't exist. So it's not only for the bad, it's for the good as well.
Yep. You could use spreadsheets. You could use your computer. You can use Google Docs. That's one I like quite a bit. You can use your phone. I like my phone because I can use spreadsheets and I can use Google Docs with my phone. And that phone's with me all the time. So anytime I do something or change something or need to remember something, then I open up my docs. I have a special page for it. I mark it there. I put a date on it. And then if I need to do any more organization, I do that later. So your tools, what you use to keep those records, to maintain those records, and to file those records is really important too. So,
well, you know, and in the segments, I said it over and over. These charts and logs are just here for you as an example. If you want to use them, great, go for it, use them. Or maybe it will give you an idea how you want to document yourself. Your own record book is going to be to your likes. So, you know, that's that. So don't think that, oh, I've got to follow the record bookkeeping charts and logs that Nancy put out. Do your own thing, you know, but they're there for you if you don't want to go and create your own on Excel or write everything down, you know, on, you know, a sheet of paper, something like that. So anyway.
Frank, go ahead.
I have them. I have my logbooks going all the way back to 1986.
And isn't that neat to look back at them and go, oh my gosh.
I laugh my butt off when I go back on them old ones, though, and read what I jotted in and my mindset back in those days. But anyway, it would show me the progressions of what worked for me, what breeding methods worked well, and what didn't work well. So over the years, a lot of times before I got up to where I'm breeding now, that was my go-to, because I could go back and I see what worked and what didn't work as I went. So I always told Amanda, I said, when I get older, not old, but older, I'd like to take all those and incorporate it in and show how I started out breeding and how I ended up breeding and the ups and downs all through those books that I'd written out. I'd make a crazy good book, I think, of the
that would
and stuff of it. Yeah.
Well,
back in the day, I mean, I used to write everything down, and there was a time when I got kind of lazy on the writing down part of it, and I didn't have a computer back then. But what I did have is a video camera, and so I'd go around, and I would do this. What Nancy was like once a month, maybe even a little bit more than that, and I'd go around my whole farm and just video everything and talk about whatever's going on in that pen. I'd talk about the birds, and it was like a video audio thing that I was doing.
It was a video log, actually. Yeah.
I didn't call it then. And I go through every pen, every brood, all the brood houses, all the breeding pens, even the round pens, and I would record everything. And I don't know if it was one of my kids or Nancy goes, you ought to make that like a farm video and then sell it. Because at the time I was actually selling chickens. Right.
That you did that.
So I would edit it down, take all the stuff of me talking about the record part of it or what was going on, take the parts of the video that just showed the birds, put it all together, and I was selling that as a farm video. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like killing two birds with one stone. And then I would even go with my camera, and I think it might be the one that Amanda has right now. I'd go around the farm and I would take pictures of all my birds, you know, just do the same thing and put them in the files because it was all digital at that time. And then once a year, I'd take my best birds, the ones that were heading my lines. And you know how my farm's set up over here, right in front of the small garage type shed thing over here. I'd put them over there, take pictures of them, you know, so I could put them in the record book. And I still use those pictures even today for tips.
We were talking with the members backside on mitochondrial DNA. Even it can even show you the concepts of that per hen. For say, I'm not going to go any farther than that, but I mean that gives you an idea of how helpful it can be. You know, keeping up with each one's offspring, how many of them were sick out of the bunch, what diseases did they carry. When you're first starting out, this is crucial. I mean, without doing that and taking those type good records, you're just raising chickens. You're not breeding.
Yeah.
Hey, Kenny, do you have the banner that shows, per se, like the breeder, all of the charts and logs listed for the breeder? Can you pull that one up? No, well, it's not that one. It's the other one that just has
one.
Okay. All right, guys. Now you're looking at this and you're going, holy crap, that's a lot of charts and logs. Yeah,
that's a lot of freaking work.
It's a lot of freaking work. But I'm telling you, do it for 1 year and be consistent. Just give yourself a goal of doing it for 1 year. And at the end of the year, you're going to look back at what you recorded and go, holy crap, here's where I wasted money. Holy crap, here's where I saved money. Holy crap, this is what I need to do differently. It's just a whole slew of information. And you guys, not everybody is going to use every single chart and log that I've got listed there, but you're going to use a lot of them.
Frank, she says something that's really important is to be consistent. So whenever you have something that needs to be recorded, you do it. But also, there's things that you might want to keep track once a week, once a month, once a year, and don't put them off. Those are the kind of things that you need to be consistent with. So
I used to be more detailed than I am now. In the beginning of it all, I used to be more detailed, but it never pays to go. If you think it's worth writing down, it's worth writing down.
Well, and then too, some of these are inventory charts. So you're going to do it once in the January and once in December, and that's it. So some of these charts you're not doing every week, or, the incubator charts, you're only doing that during the time when you're using an incubator. The grow out charts, you're only doing that when you're raising chicks to grow out, things like that.
One of the things about keeping records that you take for granted, and it really helps, is it's really good for tracking your progress. Now, when I'm taking videos or I'm taking pictures or I'm writing some things down and I'm going back and looking at them, and I take the pictures and I line them up year after year after year. If I didn't have pictures of the Adam and Eve that I start with that I got from Colonel Gibbons, I might have forgot what they look like. I might have had some kind of memory, maybe a little bit, but I would have never saw the progression to where they are now. And I would have just assumed they were like, okay, yeah, I assume they're a little better. You know what I mean? But when I was putting the pictures and lining them up year after year, year after year, you could see the progression. It's like every couple of years, they just exponentially got better, and it helps you because it helps you be patient. When you're seeing that there's progress being made, it helps you be patient so that you're not losing. Like you're thinking, oh, I'm not making the progress I want. They're not actually progressing. So I start adding new blood because I want it to go faster. It helps you with that. So it tracks your progression and shows you where you're at.
It can be a confidence builder.
Yeah.
And then again, it can also tell you, hey, you're doing something wrong. Your birds are going downhill rather than uphill.
Exactly. But you're going to learn.
Yeah, and that's the whole point about it. Even if it's bad and you're going downhill, still knowing something's not working for you. So that's the time, regroup, go back, find out where you messed up, and do it again. And like Kenny said, the more pictures you take, the better, because as long as those birds are just a little bit better, they don't have to be huge better, a little bit better, you've done your job as a breeder.
And I talk about it in the website. I even talked about it in my books where there's times, I mean, you do want it to steadily progress as you go, but there's times when it feels like it's going like this.
Yes.
Okay. It feels like I'm doing good, then I'm doing bad, then I'm doing good. But if you track it properly, you'll see that, I went up a little bit, but I went backwards, but I went back a little bit, but then I went up higher than I did before. So when you're able to track it properly and you're able to see those patterns that, it's like the stock market. It's like your 401k. If you looked at it from month to month and sometimes year to year, if you looked where you started to where you are today, it would look like it went like this, like a steady climb. But if you were to look at it closely, it kind of goes like this as it goes up. You know what I mean? Well, breeding can be like that. There's times when I was going forward and I dropped back a little bit. I had a problem. Then I had to kind of regroup, check things out, reestablish my matings, maybe use this bird instead of that bird, maybe pull this one out, the sun's better, whatever. You're adjusting as you go. But if you look back and you track it properly, you'll see that, yeah, you stumbled here and there, but you still progressed over the long haul. Because the hardest part is staying patient and trusting in the process and not losing hope when you do fall down just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it goes in a goal of finding that one individual in the start, and then it goes to making more of the individuals. So, but in the beginning, it's much harder than it is once you get them the foundation the way that you want it. The foundation blood really tells you what you've accomplished. The birds that you breed this season tells you where you're at, whether you went down or up.
Yeah. Nancy, doing records, I think we can admit, I think we can, when we look back, we realize that we made probably better decisions because we kept track of things, that we recorded things. We make better decisions overall.
That's what I was just writing down, because I was going to say, wouldn't you say that if you're doing a daily record keeping chart, if you're working on it daily or weekly, or some of you maybe even monthly, you're keeping better track of what's going on day to day. And you're not just going out there and feeding and watering, getting it done and getting on with your day, doing other things. You're actually taking the time to record things that you're doing. And by the end of the month, you know exactly what you did that month. At the end of the year, you know exactly what you did all year long. And you can probably, I would say, and you guys can either agree or disagree, I would say that if you're using a record bookkeeping program, you're going to find the problems before the problems become, oh, too late. This happened 6 months ago. And it just totally flew over my head because I was just out there watering and feeding instead of really paying attention to what I was doing.
Well, Frank, it's like, I'm not a medicine type guy. I cull before I medicate. But if you're using medicines and you're not keeping track of that, and you're not only keeping track of the medicines you're using, but their progress, and even to see whether they even got better or progressed, how are you going to manage it later down the road when you don't know whether it worked or not, or you can even remember how much you used? And the same thing with feed. If you're trying new feeds, how are you going to know if you're not keeping track of and keeping a record of that, how well it worked, or maybe it didn't work, you know? So,
yeah, well, just the savings, any type of money that you can save with chickens, it's better. And if you add up, just say feed, just do your math for the people's listen. Take a bird, 4 ounces a day, and do that for a year, one bird. And people says, my God, they're charging $1,000 for this rooster, or they're charging $500 for this one. Just do your feed at 4 ounces a day and do that for a year. And I promise you, you'll see the reason that a lot of people has the money on them to have, because they've got more, that or more in them. A lot of people doesn't realize the money that they even put in their birds a year. And, go back on that tax. If that money that you're getting back, that's more feed to be bought, that's more money in your pocket. So every little bit helps.
Yeah. This is go ahead, Nancy.
I'll give you another example of that. I have laying hen charts for people who have a laying hen business. And in one of the laying hen charts, of course, it has a picture of the hen that you're cultivating or taking care of. And one of the columns, it's when did she start laying? At what age did she start laying? And if she ends up being one of those late birds who don't lay when it's time to lay, and they mature late, that's one you want to keep an eye on. And now if you've got them in a pen of 12 hens, you have forgotten which one lays late. And what if you end up using that one as a breeder? Now you've just incorporated those genes of this chicken, this hen who matures late, and you're not going to get the productivity out of her that you would another hen. So keeping record of all your hens that are your layers is really good in a way that you can choose your breeders out of.
Yeah, keeping track of performance and production is important, because those are selection points.
Exactly.
And if you're not keeping track of selection points, you're not going to know what to select or which birds you should be breeding to. So I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah,
You know,
you're wasting money.
that's like people that doesn't cull. Okay, they'll say, okay, I'll find some other use for this bird. Okay, when a hen gets sick from me, I cull her. I don't. I'm like Kenny. I don't want her in my flock. I see that as a weakness. I see that as the worst genetic defect that you
Yep.
can have. I breed back the ones that are more vigorous. They've never been sick in their day. But for the ones that doesn't cull, what they do is they don't write it down. They don't mark them in any way. They don't write it down. So say it gets sick when in its first year. Okay, it goes on 2 or 3 years, and like, oh, I'm going to breed this rooster or this hen. You're just magnifying that sickness in that bird. Now, can you get away from it? Yeah, you can, but if you've already got a healthy flock and you get one sick bird out of it, you don't want to incorporate that back in on your fowl. So something as easy as marking that bird and making a note of that, putting in your charts, can save you a lot of grief down the road.
And I mark my birds in 3 different ways, basically. I use a metal, like aluminum leg band that's colored. Okay, and that tells me what strain they come from. And then I use a wing band for the number, and that tells me who they are. So I have I know who they are, I know who their mom and dad is. And then I have zip ties that I use for color that shows me their age. So from a distance right away, I can tell you what line they're from, and I can tell you how old they are. That tells me which generation they're in. And if I need to know, and a lot of times I pretty much know all my birds here. I know every one of them. But I mean, sometimes you can have so many birds you don't know. So you pick them up, you look at the number, you go check on your computer, pull up your phone, go, okay, now I know who this is. I know what line she came from. I know who her parents are, and I know how important she is, and that's going to help your selection too. So, yeah, I think it's important to mark them, identify them, and keep track of them individually.
I do the same as Kenny just mentioned, but I do toe mark.
See, I don't trust that one.
I know they grow up, but if they grow up, no harm, no foul. You've got the other stuff on it. But that way I can look at them in a pen and I can pretty much know what they are just by looking at in the pen. You can't really see the number on the leg band until you get it up, really.
Yeah.
But that's what helps me, just looking at the notches while they're walking around in the pen. But I still use everything else that he does. You can't get enough of them because, like he said, the toe mark grows up. Maybe the wing band rots out. Maybe you didn't get the leg band on good enough. That comes off. I want multiple ways to know where that bird come from. Where if I have a problem, if it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, I want to know the mother and father of that bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we did create a toe punch pattern chart and a log to log all your toe punches, what bird has what toe punch. And the coal record. We have a coal chart too, so you won't forget, what you cold and how much you cold.
About the only thing I don't do is the nostril marking. I don't like the nostril.
I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way it looks.
Terrible on the bird. Some people like it. I don't, because and every bird I've ever seen, when they're down in the dirt scratching and picking it, they will fill that nostril plumb full of dirt, and that's bacteria and everything in the world. So I do have some that's that way because it run into it that I had to do it that way. And what I done was I took those little cuticle cutters, not the fingernail cutters, but the little short cuticle cutters. They're like fingernail clippers, but they're only got a partial of the blades on them. And those work really, really good. People use those fingernail clippers, but they're really big. But that's the last resort on me on the nostril.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that once, and I was like, no, I don't like the way these guys look.
You can barely do it, and it's not so bad. But if you take the whole the layer out to the top, it's not a good look for me. I don't like it.
This part here is probably the most important to me. To me, it's the key to record keeping. It's what do you want to remember, what do you want to measure, and what do you want to compare. To me, that's record keeping in a nutshell. And if you understand that, then you can create the graphs, the logs, the forms that you need to keep proper records. And so this is the thing I always keep in my mind. What do I want to remember? What do I want what do I want to measure? What do I want to compare? I can't think of anything I'd add to that because everything's associated to that. So, and like Nancy was saying, we have a lot of pictures, graphs, logs, and forms. They're going to go with the record keeping program, and you're free to use those any way you want. You might like them, you might want to change them, you might want to alter them, but at least they give you an idea what to do. But this is the one thing I want you to take away from this whole program and even today's show is this is what record keeping is. This is the I'm trying to think of the word I want to use. It boils down to these three. What? Go ahead.
Nancy pretty much give them a template that they can use to magnify the way that they want to make their own, so to speak. I guess you could say, but a good template.
It's a template, but then again, too, it's going to be in a PDF file, so they can print it out, and do what they want with it.
I always want to be able to. I want to remember what breed they came from. I want to remember what their age is. I want to remember what their health status is. Anything that I encounter in my breeding or in my yard that I want to make sure I remember, that I don't want to forget, and then I write that down. It's so important because it's so easy to forget. We always say it. I'll remember it later. This was so important. This was such a big deal. There's no way I'm going to forget this next year. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, you never do. You think you do, but it never comes to that. It never ever comes to that. You say, "Oh, there's no way I can do this. I can't forget it, so I'm not fooling around it." Now I promise you will. I've said that a million times. But Kenny, the biggest thing of it all is the Founders Program is a wonderful breeding program. Probably the greatest breeding program out there in my opinion. But
thanks.
Without record keeping, it's useless.
Yeah.
Without record keeping, you can never, ever take that program and be successful with it. There's no possible way that you can, because you're just raising chickens if you're not keeping records.
I mean, you don't have to do all the ones that Nancy had on her list, but
just the breeding.
You do.
These three points are so important because, like measuring. I don't know. My mind's scattered today. I don't know. That's the biggest thing is you want to remember something, measure something, compare something.
Because if you don't know the individuals, their lineage, to where they come from, who's what, pretty much you're not doing the program. You're never going to be able to do the program and be successful out of it. And you're never going to be a successful breeder by doing so. Now, a lot of people out there that these type breeders that think a hen and a rooster is their strain. They may get by with that. I don't know. But if you're doing it the way it needs to be done, it has to be detailed. It has to be itemized. You have to know that individual, everything about it to be able to do it and do it right.
Yep. I mean, you're measuring their hatchability, how many eggs they're hatching. Okay. You're measuring how much feed that they're taking in, there's so many things that you could be keeping an eye on. And then you're comparing the different birds on your farm, because that's going to be part of your selection process. You're going to be comparing and measuring the breeding pairs, the mating, where you're at in the breeding program. And you're going to be comparing this season with the next season and this year with that year. So all the different mating combinations, the various parents. I mean, just look at the pedigree. That's something you want to remember, measure, compare.
Basically, I mean? That's what with gamefowl, the record keeping, all the record keeping. That's what it is. Basically, it's their pedigree.
Yeah,
of a strain.
Because if you're keeping good records, not only are you tracking things, but then you can adjust as you go, and you know where to adjust and what you need to do. You know what? I think what's messing me up, Frank, is my mind wants to talk. It's so hard not to talk about the Founders Program
and
record keeping, because everything I'm thinking in my mind has to do with record keeping. And all my examples are the different stages of the Founders Program. And my mind said, okay, no, I can't go there. I got to go here. This is hard to talk about without talking about the Founders Program.
Ask Amanda when you told me, when you messaged me and told me what we was going to be doing. See, I thought
you going to do this without talking about the Founders Program?
Yeah, I thought we was going to do it just on the round tables,
Yeah, I know you asked me that, right?
Yeah, and Kenny said, "No, we're doing it on the front." I was like, damn, that's going to be hard.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm stumbling over my words because everything I want to use as an example is the Founders Program.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of, okay, well, how can I use it without talking about that? So it's really hard.
It's
That's why
it's
on the
tough.
parts where it's talking about healthcare and feed, I pretty much let Frank take care of that because I don't medicate anything. I don't bring anything back to health. If they're not meant to be on my yard, I get rid of them. I've been using the same feed I have been using for years, so I don't even think about that. So I let Frank take care of all the feeding. But when it comes to the breeding program, man, how do you talk about record keeping? I should have just let Nancy go and shut up.
Okay, well, yeah, just shut up and let me say something. All right, so in part of the farm, okay, you can pull that one up. When we're talking about the farm, it's the farm management, and it talks about what kind of equipment you have. So you take inventory of your equipment at the beginning of the year, and you take your inventory at the end of the year, because some of you will have bought more equipment. There's also in the farm a chart for the pens.
Which one is it?
That's the head.
Oh, this one. Okay, this one.
Yeah. So you have the pens, and say you're a domestic breeder and all your barred rocks kind of look the same, but you'll have them written down, who is in what pen, what breed, what Adam and Eve is in what pen. So you'll have that written down as well. So I mean, these are things that you're going to want to have available for you when you're out there going, okay, who was in that pen again? Because they look just like that one over there, those guys over there. Was that from that strain, or was it part of this family? I don't remember. So different things like that. It seems really simple, what we're talking about in record keeping. It seems like really simple and like, I don't want to deal with this. But it's so important to deal with it, because it's going to help you get to your success through years and years and years, just like what Frank was talking about. He goes back to 1986 and reads what he did then, and then reads what he did in 1996 and 2006. And he's done things a little bit differently from beginning to now.
Check your private message, Frank.
Yeah, it's a complete turnaround. You'd think if you went and looked at the 1986 and went up through them, though, Nancy, you'd think 5 or 6 different people wrote these. You wouldn't think it was the same person. I changed that much over the years going forward. So,
to check your private message. How do we talk about that in record keeping without talking about that? Damn.
Yeah, you can't. There's no possible
like this
way.
part we have on breeding in the outline. I'm like, how are we going to talk about this?
Now we can back behind the scenes, but it's impossible to do on the front end.
Yeah,
it really is. But I that's what I thought maybe you had thought of something that I hadn't thought of. So I told Amanda, I said, that's going to be really tough to.
Well, we talked on the back end with the program itself. Nancy and I talked about how to keep records, the forms, how the forms work. We talked about those kind of things. And I told Nancy, let's just do, this is already fresh in our mind. Why don't we just talk about why it's important? And I think overall we're doing a pretty good job with that. I think we're covering it pretty good overall. But there's a few things on here I'm thinking, because I started noticing I was stumbling over my words, because I was like, I don't know even how to bring it up, because everything I want to bring up has to do with the Founders Program and those 2 points I just sent a message to you on.
Okay.
So,
pull up the cock rooster record, the one with the cock on it. We'll talk about that for a little bit. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't seem like there's that many charts there, guys. You can do this. This isn't that much. Some of you don't toe punch, so you won't need the toe punch patterns or the toe punch pattern log. Some of you don't do medication, so you won't need that one. Health log, yeah, because if some of your strains are having issues, you're going to want to document that, because from year to year, you have your 1 or 2 of them that weren't measuring up. Well, now you have record of why they weren't measuring up, and so maybe you're not going to use that strain for your breeders for the next year, because you notice that they have some physical discrepancies that you don't want to incorporate into the next level. Like breeding pens, and we talked about breeding pens. Coop maintenance. When was the last time you deep litter cleaned your pens? How much did the disinfectant cost you? I mean, that's money that came out of your pocket. The culling chart, of course. The disease history is one that Rolando is going to need to use. And I'll explain that a little bit, but it, I'm hoping that Kenny gets this and all this information inside the Breeders' Academy real soon so that he can use that disease history. Because from what I found out is if you're going to send one of your birds to the state lab, you're going to want to send a disease history along with it because it talks about the history of that bird and it really helps the lab diagnose what it was going on with that bird that you had sent in. It's really helpful to them. Show record, I put show record in there because some people take their birds to the show and you have costs. You have entry fees that you have to pay for. So anytime you have a cost, that's part of your finance records. So anyway.
And how they done,
Exactly.
Course.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just love it because in the show record, it has a spot for, okay, what was the premium? How much did it cost to be in the show? What was the name of the show? Where was it at? Did you like the judge? There's a area for notes. You can talk about, oh, this judge was really good, knew what he was talking about. Oh, this judge was not up to par and I'm never going to go to this show again. See, 6 months to a year down the road, that show comes back up again. You're like, oh yeah, let's go to this show. You've already forgotten that the judge that was there before wasn't that great of a judge and you were wasting your time going to that show. Or that judge was really good and I had a really good time. I can't wait for this show to come up again. I mean, just different things like that. It's, we can't depend on our memory. We have too much going on in our lives to have to keep notes inside our head.
The first one and the last four are crucial. I think that's the ones that are. It's a must. It has.
No, the first two actually. I think.
Yeah.
Because,
Yes. The first two
chart,
yes.
And in the charts, each rooster has its own chart and with a spot where you can put a picture in there, so you can see what that bird was. That all this information is about.
Well, the health of your offspring really tell you a lot about the mother, the mitochondrial DNA, everything. Because if she's not producing healthy offspring, you can't move forward. And so we always say it that the offspring always prove the worth of the parents.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's so important because you track that hen's progress on her offspring and through her offspring. So it's going to tell you, is she worth keeping and breeding, or is she, going to end up on the culling chart? So those are very, very important, I think.
And the disease history is good because if you're still seeing the same disease 10 years later, you're doing something wrong. Let's put it that way. You should see a decline in the disease on your yard. As far as like coccidiosis, I saw someone talking about coccidiosis in the chat. I mean, once you realize you have it, you do things right. You shouldn't have, unless you're bringing in new birds all the time, you shouldn't have that problem in a few years.
If you live in the hottest, the most humid place on the face of the earth, you can still get rid of it. If I can get rid of coccidiosis where I'm at, anybody can do it. Yeah. Especially if you live in a dry climate. It's easy done. Husbandry will go a long ways with a lot of these, of course. But record keeping is better. One time in the 90s, my adult fowl was dying of coccidiosis. It was so severe, but I wasn't doing the husbandry that I should do and knocking it out that way. I was just, it's going to end. But the selection and by me doing what I needed to do, my selection made it to where I'm not seeing it on my farm in many years.
The only time I would use medications is if I'm looking at my seed fowl and it's the only birds I can get and I need to do everything I can to keep them alive so I can get offspring on the ground and move forward. I'll use medications then. Or if something were to happen to knock my numbers down so much and I can't take the risk of losing the family because I only have a handful of birds, then I got to do everything I can to keep them alive until I get my numbers up, So there are times when you need to use medications, but for the most part, you should be working away from the medications and breeding towards resistance.
I agree, Kenny.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, if you are dealing with coccidiosis, don't use these super nuclear bombs that kills it every bit. Okay. A lot of people says, "Oh, cord, it's junk. It doesn't kill it." That's the whole ideal. It doesn't kill it. It
Yeah.
allows the bird to become immune to the effects of it through its immune system to populate it as it seems fit. If you're wiping it all out, if you're taking the disease completely out, they can never ever get a resistance to it whatsoever.
This is true with coccidia, worms.
Mhm.
You don't want to kill everything. This idea of worming every 2 weeks or every month, that you want to kill everything, you don't want to do that. They can and they should handle a certain amount of worms, so they can build resistance, because their body will fight against a infestation of worms if they're healthy. And if they're not, then you've got other issues going on there, and I wouldn't breed to that bird. So you shouldn't be. I tell everybody all the time, I haven't wormed my birds probably 15, 16 years, maybe more. And they're healthy. I never see worms, but I know they probably have some. They should, have some.
The environment has a lot to do with it as well. A dry climate where you're at, Kenny, is a lot better with coccidiosis. A lot of the disease now, not in some diseases, but in some of the diseases, it's a plus. But in some, is totally the opposite.
Well,
Vice versa.
the only thing I would say about that is I do believe that different geographical areas have experienced different things. Okay, so some person's going to have maybe worms or maybe more coccidia in one place than maybe I would. Okay, that just means your farm management has to be better than mine.
Right.
That's it. I still believe the same thing, that you don't want to kill all the coccidia. You don't want to kill all the worms. They need some of that to build immunity, to build a resistance to. And if you're killing all of them, then you're actually messing up their immune system. You're messing up their gut. They're not exactly as healthy as you think. You stop those medications, you're going to find out exactly how weak they are. And that shouldn't be that way. We say it all the time. The birds that are running wild in your area, they're surviving.
They're taking the birds and making them addictive and reliable on medications to survive.
Yeah.
Mine, I do not give them nothing as far as medications. The only thing they get is feed and vitamins, and that's it. That's the only thing that I give my birds. That's it. Because even with the best nutrition, they still lack in some vitamins. And that's the reason I give the vitamins. We take vitamins as human beings because we can't get what we need out of our diet each day. So I don't have a thing wrong with vitamins to help keep anything that will help the immune system. I'm 100% for it. But medications is just not the right way to go with chickens. Now, if you're just starting out, and like we've always said, you're weeding yourself out of it to breed toward resistance, yes, I'm all for it to get to that stage. But just to keep going on with the cycle, you'll never ever get nowhere doing that.
If you have a flock of birds, a strain, whatever, a family of birds, and you have one bird having an issue, but the other birds are fine, I'd get rid of that bird. Okay. If you live in an area where they get sick easier, more often, they have a higher exposure to coccidia. It's all about the loads. We know that. Okay. It's sometimes the healthiest bird can get sick if the loads are high enough. And usually the loads are high enough because your management was bad. You managed them wrong. So if you're telling me you live in an area like the Philippines and you have a big problem with worms and you have to worm them, then I'm saying, no, you need to work on your management skills. Do different things to keep your birds so that you keep the loads down. That's what it comes down to. But they need exposure to those worms and the coccidia.
Kenny's right. As far as the person doing what they need to be, say you've got a farm or a yard, and it's had chickens on it for 30 years, and they've never done nothing as far as husbandry for that soil. You've got 4 or 5 foot. That's nothing but old feces and urine and so when moisture gets with that heat, that's where a lot of your coccidiosis is going to come from, a lot of your disease, your bacterias. And you treat that ground, you lime it, do whatever you need to do to get the pH back into that dirt. That's management. You're going to keep down on that. But people giving their birds stuff for coccidiosis and leaving the same litter in there, that their that their feces is in, and then they turn around and they pick it right back up again. It's just it's an ongoing cycle. So they have to keep those medications in them for them to survive.
I find that most people have problems with parasites, especially internal parasites, and feel that they have to give antibiotics and medications all the time. Most of the time, they just don't want to do what's necessary to keep them healthy, like biosecurity, keeping people and birds off their yard. If you're going to keep bringing new birds on your yard, then you're starting all over. You're introducing new diseases, new problems, new issues, and you're starting all over every time you do that.
I've got a good healthy. To me, I think I've got real as good as I can get healthy birds. Okay. And I believe Kenny does. I visit his place, seen his birds. His birds are totally healthy. They're in good shape. But if I take a bird of mine and bring it to Kenny's place, and he brings a bird to mine, they may break out in sickness that's there on the yard. There's sickness on every yard.
Yeah.
There's disease on every yard.
Yep.
The problem is the birds, if you don't bring something else in, sooner or later, they get resistant to the diseases in their environment. But if you just, like Kenny mentioned a while ago, if you're just bringing bird after bird after bird after bird, it will never, ever get to the resistant stage.
Quarantine them. I have what I call a 30-30-30 rule. You put these birds out away from your other birds, at least 30 feet, maybe even 30 yards, depending. Okay. You wait 30 days to see if they come down with anything on their own. If they seem to be healthy, put a sacrificial bird with them. If your bird doesn't come sick with it, then chances are you're fine. But it's like Frank said, a lot of birds carry things that they're immune to, that they're resistant to, that they're just carriers for. Coryza is one of them. Yep. You could have a full-grown bird that, recovered from coryza, and now they just carry it. And then you bring them on a farm that's hasn't been exposed to coryza, that whole yard's going to come down with coryza.
And that bird could seem to be the healthiest bird that you ever laid your eyes on to, and still be a carrier of many diseases.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about the hen, Nancy?
So this one's good because, it's a lot like the rooster here, but these bullet points are specific to the chart that I made for the hen record. So you've got a spot for her photo. You've got the breed and variety of what she is, what kind of egg color and size that she lays. Say she's, a medium size egg layer and it's a white egg, different things like that. What's her production? How is she? And, does she lay faithfully every, 21 hours that they lay an egg, basically?
23 hours or something like that.
They say 24. It's actually between 23 and 24.
Yeah. Okay. What's her comb type? What's her leg type? Is she, white legs, green legs, that eye color, her broodiness? How is she? Does she actually go broody? Her hatchability rate. Does she hatch everything that she lays, that she goes broody and she has underneath her? Do they all hatch? And did she wing them properly? Did she wing them at all? How did she do? But the one I really like is the one that I have for the setting hen. You pull that one up, Kenny? Because the setting hen has more columns for more information. So what I really like about the setting hen is that how many stags did she have that year? How many pullets did she have that year? How many did you have to cull? How many sick or weak chicks did you have to get rid of? What's her toe punch mark if she has a toe punch mark? The date that she winged the chicks. The space next to the band for breeding, for the name and the variety that she is, because there's a space for the band number. And then right next to that is where you're going to put the breed name and what variety she is. So
can I say something real quick?
Two different ones.
There's a point there that a lot of people get mixed up is birds, like if you look at our genetics, mammals, humans, whatever, it's the male who determines the sex of the offspring. In chickens, fish, and lizards, reptiles, it's the female. So whenever you see like out of a clutch of eggs and assuming that she laid 12 eggs in a row, they all hatch, and you look at the ratios and she happens to have, more stags than pullets or more pullets than stags. A lot of people want to blame that on the rooster. It's actually the hen because she determines the sex. Now, and that's also genetic. Hatchability, well, fertility is not genetic, but hatchability is, but also sex determination. Now, some hens, and I've seen this in families where I've had members where they were so ecstatic that they got so many roosters and only a handful of hens, and they were just breeding those hens because they were getting so many. And I think they actually thought it was the cock, but they just kept breeding them that way. And then over time, they bred them in such a way that they weren't producing any hens whatsoever. You know what I mean? And they didn't realize that's a inheritable trait. So whenever you have a hen that's producing one sex over the other, you're perpetuating that trait. And so her sons and daughters are going to carry that trait too. So that can be a problem down the road. So for me, I like to try to find hens that give me a pretty even spread between stags and pullets.
I have a hen. I got, well, two things. I've got one hen that I bred her this year. She just got become a hen this year to where I could breed her. She got 95% pullets. No stags. That's all right. I'm just starting with them, so that's good. You know, that give me a good selection out of those hens. But here's the other thing. On the hen weaning her chicks, and I know this has happened to you, Kenny. It's happened to me many times. If you've got them up, some hens will tolerate them till they're mature, okay? But some hens, once they get up a certain age, you go back, and she has either beat them up or worse, killed all of them because you left her in the pen too long. I don't know how many people has really had a disastrous outcome of this because each hen's different. And Nancy's right. That is one thing that you want to record especially on your hens. That way, you know, I should take them out or have them where at least the young chicks can get away from her and not be enclosed with her.
You want to hear something that happened this year? Really weird. Never had this happen before, ever. I was feeding them. I could hear in the box the chicks chirping. So I go, oh, okay. I thought they were hatching tomorrow or something. And so I go look in there, and most of the chicks hatched, but there was still a few that were still working on it. And I was feeding them in the evening time. So I said, okay, I'll leave them in there, and they'll all be hatched by tomorrow. I'll pull them out tomorrow morning and move them. I went in there, not one chick, not even a sign of an egg, nothing in that box, nothing. I don't know what happened. Wow. And I don't know what could got it. Not only not that high, not that high. You see my boxes; those nest boxes are way off the ground near the roost. I have no idea what could have got in there and got those chicks. Or now I saw a video.
A possum?
Well, no. Listen, I saw a video where this hen ate one of her chicks.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen many times, but there's evidence of it.
Okay, well, there was no evidence of anything in there. I'm like, what could have happened? Did she eat these chicks? That's a lot of chicks to eat. I don't know if she could have ate them all in one setting. No.
I've seen
I
them
have
eat
no
one.
idea. I've never seen that happen before in my life. Not
crazy.
One chick, there was never a chick ever in there. Not even a sign of cracked eggs or nothing.
Could have been a snake.
I've never had that problem either.
Rats. Jason says rats.
There would be signs of it in there. They've
been eggshells.
In there.
They'd have been eggshells.
Blood in there. There would be blood in there. Unless they carried them out.
Just
but
like something
be
scooped them up and took them out.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
They're gone.
Yeah. Well, with rats or, even a skunk or a possum or, a predator of that
sort. But
sort.
Wouldn't there be blood in there?
They'd have been blood or eggshells. They would have been parts of eggshells.
I saw no sign of it on the ground or nothing.
That's crazy.
And she didn't even seem upset.
A snake's the only thing I know that wouldn't leave any evidence because they would have swallowed the eggshell and.
But there was some of the chicks were hatched.
Yeah. Yeah. Them snakes love them that way, but I don't know. I've never had a problem with them either. But there's been times though I've had it happen.
Weasel.
No blood.
No, there was no signs. Like there was never a chick in there.
Yeah.
Maybe
they would
she
have been
kicked it.
something.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe she kicked them all out and they all went through the
No, because
fencing
I've taken hatch chicks, put them on the ground with the hen. They stay in that pen with the hen.
What happened to the eggs? All the eggshells.
Everything was gone.
nations. That's
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
crazy.
I'm like.
Like they went into the twilight zone. It was the weirdest
The
thing.
aliens got them. Bigfoot coming and swept them up and got them.
Oh my god. Yeah. So
Yeah.
You are in California.
Yeah, we have storks around, but I've never seen a stork in our yard, and it would be too big to get into our pens to get to the chicks.
I'm glad
So
you brought
it would
that up,
have to
Nancy.
be, I think it would have to be like a possum of some sort.
These big silver cranes we have here, they stay beside the creek banks. You know, they primarily feed off fish. And some of them will get up 4 or 5 foot tall. You actually see them walking it at night, and it looks like a person almost. They're so big and skinny, and they hate people. And I noticed I had a hen, and every day she'd have a chick gone. So I went over and just sat there with my shotgun, you know, trying to see what it was. And this big silver crane comes in and sitting there looking at me, you know, and I was like, oh, well, you know, never had no idea that they would eat chicks. And it just walks over, picks that chick up, swallows it whole, flies off.
Oh,
I'd never
man.
seen that. I'd never seen that before in my life, ever.
you want to talk about this one, Nancy?
Well, I'll tell you what, health and nutrition go hand in hand, wouldn't you say, Frank?
Yep, it does. Can't have one without the other.
And that's why it's really important to have documentation of like what we've been talking about, the medical treatments, the health logs, the disease history, and then, you know, on the nutrition side of it, what kind of feed are you feeding them? How much feed are you feeding them, from baby chicks all the way to 12 weeks if you're doing broiler chickens per se? The growth charts, are they growing properly? The culling log. I mean, in every aspect of your record bookkeeping project, you should have a culling chart of some kind.
That's my
You're going to be
favorite one.
surprised. You're going to be really surprised at the beginning of the year to the end of the year how much you actually culled,
Yeah, but
or how much you should have culled. Say you only had 20 culls that year. I'm like, really, guys? And you raise a family of maybe 100 birds or so?
Well, I'll say this, that in the beginning you will have a lot of culls.
Yeah,
That's what I was
yeah.
gonna
No
say.
matter what animal. But as you get going, you get into the foundation stage and you start fine-tuning them.
Right.
You'd be surprised how little culls you actually
No.
have.
I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah.
Now,
That's true too.
on the strains that I've got that I consider foundation fowl, and I've been honest with this, I'm not exaggerating. This year so far, I've not found one cull. So far, I've still got a lot free range, but the ones that I've put up and pinned already, I've not had a one so far. So knock on wood. But Kenny's right. At the beginning, gosh, I had tons of them. I had bukus of them. But now, very seldom. I still get them, but not that many.
Where'd you go?
I had to adjust the air conditioner. I'm catching a cold.
Oh, are you kidding me? Really?
I'm freezing. I'm shivering here. I think it's got to turn off for a little while.
That's the reason I'm like I am right now, because it's got
Cold.
it's on the far end, so I can't adjust it. And I left it wide open, so yeah, it's getting kind of cool.
You guys, my buddies out there,
I think he done that just to rub it in on you, Nancy.
should be feeling
You
very
asked.
sorry
I
for
was going
me.
to keep it quiet. That's why I went off the thing, because I was going to keep it quiet.
Oh,
No, that's my favorite button there, is that culling button.
Yeah,
I
General
don't have a worming log, okay? I don't
Uh,
have a medical treatment log. I cull.
Yeah, but
That-
we do
that's
have.
good.
We do have one in there for you in case you
Yeah, I
guys
just don't
needed
use
to
that
do
one.
that to worm.
Yay, it went off.
For anybody that's probably wanting to know, General Patton, when he's referring to feed
Oh yeah.
the Frankenstein, he's talking about some of my posts that I've got. So just in case somebody's wondering, that's what he's talking about. I guess he's been watching my videos.
Are you going to share with the class, or is that?
Oh, it's just it's a song that's on a lot of my videos,
Oh, okay.
feed videos, other videos that I've got. I just choose that one for a sound pick, because a lot of them, it doesn't matter what music you put on them. They allow you to put the music on there, and then later on they block it to where the music can't be heard because of copyright and all that. So,
Wow.
and I pay for it. I pay for the music, but I'm intruding on copyright. So that don't make much sense.
No, it doesn't, especially since you paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny,
I
let's talk about.
I use licensed music. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but he paid for the music, and they're still
I did too.
having a
But
problem.
I buy a licensing that
Yeah.
goes with it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All my music is licensed. What were you going to say, Nancy?
Let's talk a little bit about staying focused.
Um,
Where's that one?
I'm trying to stay focused.
You are not staying focused.
No.
My friend. I'm going to trick you in.
Yeah.
Okay. So inside the Breeders Academy, our Breeders Academy members are going to be privy to having charts and logs for coaching calls. A lot of times, guys, when you have a coaching call with Kenny or Frank, you get all this information and you never wrote it down. And you forget as soon as you get off the phone, what the heck did we talk about? So I have a log there specifically for coaching calls. And then also my favorite one is the daily schedule. Now, when you guys get in there and you see the daily schedule, you're going to understand.
That is a nice daily schedule. It actually is a real nice one.
It starts at 4:00 in the morning, guys, for you. Very.
It even keeps track of how much water you drink.
Yes. For you ambitious people, if you want to get up at 4:00 and start your day, there's lines per hour of, okay, I'm eating breakfast at 9. I'm feeding at 10. I'm coming back in the house and washing dishes at 11. I mean,
I told her that's the only problem I have with it is she has me getting up at 4:00 in the morning. I go, I don't think so.
That's dinner time for me.
Yeah, I know, huh? It has all the way to 12:00 midnight. So that would be perfect for you, Frank, because you're up all night. But it has a space in there for drinking water because a lot of people do not drink enough water. So they've got water droplets. So you can check off your water droplets for every glass of water that you drink. It's got priority, your 3 priorities that you need to get done that day. So you'll write that on your list. Or what is some other things? I wish that one I think maybe we could have shared because it's kind of really neat.
I don't have it on here right now.
Yeah, we don't have that one on there. But anyway, so you Breeders Academy members, you're going to get to use that one if you want. And then the last one that I did is just notes where you can go and print out the note page and you can apply it to your folder that has all your breeding charts and logs in it, or your folder that has all your health history, all these different things. But it's just a place for notes. But anyway, the main thing is you need to stay focused. And the way to stay focused is to document and write down your notes. Have notes.
Without notes, I would never get anything done. Or Amanda, I'll say, remind me to write it down, or you remind me. And she's pretty good about it. She'll write it down and remind me of something. So anymore, that's about all I can do.
I am so bad with that because
she doesn't write anything down.
Kitty will say, write a note. And then I'll be a good girl and I'll write a note and then I'll forget where I put the dang note. So
no, I have a special doc on my phone that I go in there. I
never look at it. And I'll use it, but I'll never go back in and look at it.
I use my notebook on my phone. Is what I use.
Yeah.
Every night before I go to bed, I set up my phone. I set up the schedule for the day, what I have to do, all my chores, all the things I have planned for the day, all the stuff I have to do on the website, what I have to prepare for the show. That's all set up. And then I just check them off one at a time as I do them. And then anything I want to add to it, I just add to it. I live on that thing.
And as busy as you are and as how much work that you do in a day, you need to have that. So like I said, you got to stay focused. So before we get off here, let's go ahead and discuss what Rolando was saying. He says, I was messaging back and forth with Peter Brown, and we can't figure out what's wrong with my birds. I even went as far as to sanitize my place. I'm so bummed out. Should I get a bird tested?
Your local college would be your best. Check with them. See if they can. Usually the local colleges, they can take a bird, do a necropsy on it, and pretty much let you know what your problem is. About $50, $50 to $75.
That might be the best thing to do.
I
Get 'em
think it
tested.
would be.
Yeah. I thought Peter figured it out.
No, he sent me another video like that. I've always told Rolando it was something, and I even told Peter it's whatever it is, it's affecting the
Neurological?
nerves. Yeah, it's neurological because the birds are like they've got botulism. You know, the head, like the falling asleep, the head down,
Yeah.
or their head back over their back. You know, just like look at stargazing. You know, so different things, and like I say, I would thought sure it was botulism whether it was acting, but it's even got Peter stuff. So.
Wow. Yeah, get
And
him
it's
tested.
It's
Yeah.
mostly his younger fowl. It's not
Yeah,
his older fowl.
Free range young fowl. So ones that's affected. Adult fowl's not been affected on it whatsoever.
You got to wonder if there's some weed around his
Yeah.
property, if he's free ranging them.
Maybe there's something
that they're
growing in the
getting
yard he
poisoned.
doesn't know about.
He searched the property. I think it's something they're ingesting. I really do. I think it's something that they're actually ingesting, and it's making them this way. Because if it was anything else, it would be affecting the mature birds as well. But it's got cooped in the pens. But I think that would be your best, Rondo. That would give you more answers than questions. Is to do that, and it'd be money well spent as well to know exactly what you're up against.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that was it. So
And
should we wrap it up?
General Patton wanted to know if I ever see that crane again. He moved to another state. Last I heard of him, he moved out of state. So
upon your request.
Yeah, I didn't see him again after that.
Is he above the ground?
I doubt it. That's been many moons ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay. No more questions. We can wrap it up.
No, we don't have any more questions. We're all good.
Okay. Well, I hope we gave you guys something to think about. Encourage you guys to start keeping records. Like I said, the biggest thing is document what you want to remember, measure, and compare. And then you build your forms and your logs and your graphs according to that. And then be consistent. Make sure you write it down as soon as it happens. The phone is a great way to do it. Docs are free, and you can just pop it up, write it down, date it. Okay. And then if you have to organize it later, do that. But I think they are important. I can't imagine doing a breeding program, any breeding program, and especially the founders program, if you're not keeping some kind of records and keeping track of what you're doing, what's going on, how's it progressing, and what you plan on doing next. So,
well,
but we do. Go ahead.
The members will know what I'm talking about and what Kenny's talking about. The segment Kenny said we couldn't discuss that was critical to record keeping. With that right there, it's critical. You cannot do any type breeding program without good records, accurate records. Just because it's written down doesn't make it good, but accurate records will speed you right through. And if it doesn't go good, then you've got the records to go back over to see where you messed up. And if it works out good, then you know what you done worked. So it's a win-win to use them.
And for the members, make sure I'm thinking about I'm going to work on it tomorrow. I've got a handful of videos. They shouldn't take me long to edit and go through. And then I just got to turn some of the lessons into PDFs. Should go on the website pretty quick. So I'm thinking sometime middle of next week, it should be there. Keep an eye on it. I pretty much dropped everything to work. I put all my other projects aside for now to help Nancy with this. She made me do it, by the way.
I begged him. Anytime that he was sitting there on the phone like this, guys, scrolling, I'm like,
she goes, "What are you doing?"
On my record bookkeeping
Trust me, I'm working. So.
But Kenny, can you go ahead and take that banner off for me, please?
And one other thing, guys, remember, tax on feed, get you some money back. And even your building materials, your wire, if you're building your own pens, that's deductible. Anything livestock, it doesn't matter. Chickens, it can be goats, cattle. If it's livestock, tax deductible. So get what money you can back. Every little bit helps.
We claim I have a business, but I claim everything. If it's a receipt, it goes in the receipt box, and we deal with it later and see if there's a category for it. But
if it saves you $10, hey, $10 is $10. Get back what you can, because believe me, if you owe them, they're going to make sure you pay it. So,
Absolutely. So, guys, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share if you loved the show tonight and you want to see more people watching our show and sharing everything that we have been sharing with you. We would appreciate that. Also,
Yep.
make
Join our
sure that you
newsletter.
sign up for the newsletter, and there's that QR code that you can just take a picture of it right there.
I really like the way we're doing this. Most of the members are coming in through the newsletter. I don't know. I mean, or contact me. If you really want to get in that bad, I'm not trying to keep anybody out really. But I do like the way the newsletter is working because people are joining the newsletter are kind of serious about wanting to be breeders. They're liking what they're getting from that. And then they get the invite and I get a whole bunch of members and I'm loving it. It's to me, it's just better than having that registration page just sitting there. We're still trying to figure out what we're going to do for Black Friday. We usually do something. I just not sure what we want to do yet. But for now, this is the best way to get in the website. Trust me, you're going to love the website. There's so much information. It's really good information. We're always adding new information. I just don't know of anything else that's out there like it. Okay.
Well, it's the only way that you can keep birds for as long as you want and not have to switch breeds every 3 to 5 years. You can keep the same birds as long as you want. As long as you're willing to put in the work with the Founders Program and work them through it, you can keep them for as many years as you see fit.
And it's an easy program. It really is. It's simpler than you could ever imagine, and it's progressive.
Go ahead, Kenny. I'm sorry.
It starts with the Adam and Eve. We call it the Genesis stage, and it takes you through the transformation stage, is where you're going to see most of the change, most of the progress, and then it works you into the foundation stage where you're going to fine tune them and make them a true family, and then from there you maintain them. And you'll never have to add the outside blood. If you understand the selection process, and that's what we teach you, and you see how the Founders Program is laid out, you're going to see that it works. And I hear it all the time. Everybody looks at the Founders Program, by the way it's set up, they go, man, it's so simple. Why didn't I think of that? I hear it all the time, so.
It is. Basically, it's common sense. It is.
But you wouldn't know it unless you saw it. That's the funny thing.
That's the catch. Well, that's the way with anything. It's all easy if you know how to do it. But if you don't know how to do it, it can be daggone pretty hard.
Well, I listen to other, and I try not to get in this. We let the straight stick usually take care of the crooked stick for the most part. But every now and then I'll see something on YouTube and it'll catch my attention. I'll listen to it, and I just sit there and shake my head. They're talking about, they talk about line breeding. They make it the beginning, the middle, and the end of a program. Don't realize how much work needs to be done before you get into line breeding, how much has to be cleaned up, and then they have no idea what to do after the line breeding. And then there's some that are using line breeding that isn't really line breeding. And I heard someone talking about inbreeding today, which just blew my mind. It's like he's trying really hard to talk like he understands inbreeding, but doesn't understand. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. And so this will really open your eyes. So all I can say is give it a try, check it out, and you're going to go, wow. And it works for all animals. I mean, I started it for chickens, but I've got animals of all types. We have livestock of all types, poultry of all types. We even have quite a few dog breeders in there now. And I wasn't sure what they were going to think about it or whether they were going to like it, because the dog breeders are really scared of inbreeding. They don't want to use a true line breeding program. But I haven't found one dog breeder that looked at it and said, no, this doesn't work for me. They love it. They go, wow, why didn't I think about this?
Well, in the spring, I'm going to put the Founders Program use on dogs. So probably around April, May, I should have some puppies on the ground, hopefully. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Baby sheep.
So let's remind our members what is on tap for next week.
What did I say? Let me go.
It's a surprise.
Wow, this is a pretty big outline.
Yeah,
it's taking me forever to get there. I want to make sure I get it right. Okay. So we do have in the plans to still cover outcrossing. That's an important one. We're going to go into inbreeding, and I'm going to have 2 classes for inbreeding, one for the front end. We're mostly going to be talking about the importance of inbreeding, and then on the back end, we're going to talk to our members how to do it properly. and then how it works for the breeding program. It's an important part. It's something you don't want to neglect. A lot of people are afraid of it, so we definitely want to talk about that one. And then we're going to go into in and inbreeding for the front end. That one I have no problem talking about because I'm not encouraging it. Okay, I'm going to show you the maybe some of the pros with it, but mostly the cons. And it's something Frank and I talked about before, but I really want to go deep into this one. So I have those in the plans for the members. We'll be doing stage 5 and 6 here pretty soon. So we got a lot of programs and courses that we plan on doing. I've got quite a few for the front end and the back end. But like I said, I was kind of contemplating because I want to do some fun stuff for the next month or so. And so we might do some Q&As. I always enjoy those. But like I said, I was writing something down. I was kind of comparing the different traits that are either they're from the genotype or the phenotype, and then like do a quiz, kind of pop them up there and let everybody decide, try to figure out what they are. Is it a phenotype? Is this trait a genotype? And then we can talk about it. We can talk about not only what it is, but why, and then kind of go deep into that. So I think that would be a fun one. And then I was writing, I was kind of sitting down, writing an outline, because a lot of times I start with it just right at the top of my head, and then any research I need to do, I do afterwards. But I was thinking about all the different methods that create the most variation. And as I was writing them down, wow, there's quite a few. So I thought we could talk about the different methods that create the variation that we see in our birds, and then why that is so. So I thought that'd be a fun one to do. So that's kind of where I'm at.
You're going way too far into it. So next week is going to be a member show. And then the week after that, we'll be going back into the public.
Yeah.
So members.
Is that what you were asking me? That's all you wanted to hear?
Well, okay. Yeah. Remember the members. Remember, you get a show every week.
Public, say that 5 times quick.
The public gets a show every other week. So twice a month. Members get a show 4 times a month. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right. And last but not least, I just got to say, Kenny had bought me about 6 or 7 record bookkeeping books just to go through them to see if I had.
I thought it was like a dozen of them.
Maybe it might have been. It was a lot.
It was a stack of them.
But I went through every one of them, and I'm like, I'm going through it like this. I'm like, nah. They didn't have everything that I had. That's me being a little.
Yeah, she was looking at me going, "I'm good. I'm good.
They didn't have.
I just wasted all my money on these books." I said, check these books out and see if there's anything that inspires you. Maybe we're missing something. Nope. I'm just throwing them out. I'm like, oh man, I just wasted all my money.
Just saying, you guys are I think you'll be happy. At least it'll give you ideas. That's what's going to make me happy, is it gives you ideas and gets you started on doing some record bookkeeping.
Okay. Nancy just done the hard work.
Yeah, she put a lot of work into it.
It was fun.
Okay, so I want to thank you guys for joining me. I want to thank everybody for watching us, listening to us. I don't know. We didn't get too many questions, did we? So I was going to say some of those questions and comments really contribute to the show, but you guys were sleeping on the job, so I'm not sure we did much of that. We'll have to make it up on a Q&A next week or something. I don't know.
What did you learn?
Put our listeners to work,
What did you document?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll see you guys. I'll see the members next week, and we'll see the rest of you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Bye.